Hello viewers, welcome back to the Moose Mobile Auto Repair channel, and today we have a 2011 Ford Edge with the 3.5 liter engine, and today we are going to be replacing the front brakes, the rotors and pads, because the customer has requested that they wanted me to replace the front brakes. So the first thing we need to do is to pull off the wheel. The frame is rotted on this, so I'm going to place the jack stand somewhere on the subframe or on the control arm, because underneath there's too much rust. So we're probably going to place a jack stand somewhere on the subframe. Where it's not too rusty. So on the other side of the vehicle, you can see how rusty it is. I wasn't able to jack up on the lip where the frame is. It's all crumbling away. You can see the rust and everything. So I had to jack it up somewhere on the subframe or something, so that the vehicle doesn't fall down. This vehicle is a little bit in bad shape. Probably has seen better days. I can see that the power steering rack is leaking on this. So it's my first time that I'm seeing this vehicle, so I don't have any clue on what this vehicle is about. So you can see it's leaking here. Everything. The power steering rack is leaking on this. You can see the power steering fluid level is low. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's just below the minimum mark. So anyhow, I'm going to get started on the brakes. So you want to make sure that the key is on, or that the ignition is on, so that you're able to turn the wheel. So you want to be able to turn the wheel all the way, so you're able to work on the brakes. As I work on this vehicle, I'm going to notice a whole bunch of stuff. I see a little bit of grease that's leaking from the CV axle boot. So before you start the brake job, you want to check the brake fluid level. See if there's any fluid that you may need to take out before you push the piston in. I can see that the seal is missing on this cap. You can use like a turkey baster or an extractor tool or something. I have something that's like this, an extractor tool to suck out the fluids. So the first thing you need to do is to remove the caliper bolts. This is a 17. Just need to loosen them up first. If you don't want to use a wrench, you can use an impact if you're careful enough. It doesn't really matter. So remove the mounting bolts, the slider pins. This one is for the bottom, and this one is for the top. I don't think they are interchangeable. They are different sizes, so make sure you don't mix them up. The thinner one at the bottom, the thicker one at the top. So remove the caliper. Should be able to come out. The bolt came off. That's usually it's part of this, so we'll install that back on. Now the customer requested that they wanted me to replace the front brakes, but I think they may be needing rear brakes as well. The rotors are a bit rotted away, but there's still quite a bit of pad material left. So you can see the scoring on the pads and stuff, and the rotors are pretty rotted. I think they may need rear brakes too, so they're complaining it's making noise and stuff. So we are just going to be replacing them anyways. So I'm not sure if there's like a little bit of brake fade, but I could feel that during a road test it doesn't stop the greatest. So we're probably going to do all brakes all around, but for today it's just going to be the front brakes. So anyhow, we are going to push the pistons in. The first thing you want to do is to pull back on the dust boot to make sure that it's not leaking brake fluid or anything like that. So you can use your fingers or use a thin flathead screwdriver to push back on the boot and to inspect if there's any leakage. If there is, then you'll need to replace or rebuild the caliper. So we are going to push the pistons back in now. Hopefully the pistons will retract back. You want to go very slowly and not too fast, because it's possible you could introduce air into the system. So you just want to be careful. Go at a steady speed. I've always been taught that to go slowly with the pistons when you are pushing them back, just in case if anything were to happen. So just to be on the safe side. So the piston, they went in, so everything looks good, and then later we are going to do the cleaning afterwards. We can put this on the side, on the suspension somewhere, so that it's not hanging on the brake hose, or you can hang it up on top of the strut tower if you want. So what's next? It's a 19 mil to remove the caliper bracket bolts. I'm just using a 3/8 long ratchet and a 19 shallow socket just to break them free. You can use an impact or something. It doesn't really matter. It all depends on your preference. Now, if you're not able to break this loose, you can just use an impact, and that's probably on what I'm going to do now. So I started working on this vehicle just now, so I'm bringing out all of my tools, so I don't really know on what I need, but it's a brake job, so it's most likely you'll be needing some wrenches, breaker bars, impact, and sanding discs and things of that nature. So we are going to loosen this. It comes right out. It's just easier to use an impact sometimes, but anyhow, so that's that for the mounting bolts. And the caliper bracket just comes right out. So I believe the brake rotor already comes free. It's already loose, so there's no need to hammer or anything. This is the brake rotor. You can see it's heavily discolored and overheated and warped because of all of the blue hazy marks and rust. So much rust inside the hub there. And meanwhile, probably want to check the wheel bearings and the control arm, ball joints and stuff, and all of that, just as you are doing the brakes to inspect the vehicle. So the next thing you want to do is to compare your parts with the new and the old. Just make sure everything is the same. The diameter of the brake rotor is exactly the same as the old one. So everything is matching up. This is just excessive rust buildup. So that's why it may look slightly bigger, but it's the same size. I believe this is a 320 millimeter in diameter for the rotor size. And you also want to check the brake pads to make sure that they are the same also, and everything is the same here. The last thing you want to find out is that you're in the middle of doing a brake job and you don't have the correct parts. So make sure that you check your parts first before you continue. So this set of brake pads, it comes with the hardware, the mounting hardware and stuff. So we are going to be using these. It comes with a pocket of grease if you want to use that. I'm going to be spraying the Permatex disc brake quiet on the backing of the brake pads. This helps to apply a small amount of cushion onto the backing of the pads to help prevent unwanted noise and vibration. And this basically prevents something called caliper hopping, excess movement of the caliper. So this is just something that shops and people like myself use just for quick insurance, just in case if there's brake noise or something. This is what shops typically use on every brake job, just to be on the safe side. It's not a requirement to use. It's just something that I like to use on every brake job, just in case if there were to be something that would be making noise within the brake pads. Now, these are ceramic, high quality aftermarket brake pads. If you're using cheap brake pads, they will always make noise regardless of what you spray on them. So make sure you're using a high quality brake pad of a known brand. And this is an in-house brand from a part source. It's rebranded from something else to which I'm not sure, but this is an in-house brand from part source. So I typically just use these because I really haven't had too many issues with these brake pads and rotors. So I'm just going to continue with this to spray on the backing of the pads. You want to do this first because it takes some time for the adhesive material to dry up. It's like a paint adhesive. Don't need to spray too much, but a generous amount. You can see here, Permatex disc brake quiet feels microscopic thickness variations and dampens vibration between the caliper brake pedal interface. It resists washout in high temperatures, stops brake squeal by dampening vibration between the caliper and the brake pad, allows for easy disassembly by preventing rust formation between caliper and brake pad, compatible with anti-lock braking systems, ABS, and it just tells you on how to use. Wait for 10 minutes before to reassemble because it will be tacky. So that's that. So as we are waiting, we are going to clean everything that's on the vehicle. So if you don't have a drain pan, you can use like a box, the one that the Rotors came out of, and just use that. And I'm just going to start cleaning for the rust around the backing plate area and stuff, and clean the surfaces here. So that's that. We're going to clean up the caliper and the inside. We're going to clean the caliper up. Just you want to be careful to not damage the dust boot here as you are cleaning this. So once you're done cleaning, you can spray some brake cleaner to clean off any leftover residue. Put that on the side. I'm just using the clean flow, breaking parts clean. So now we have to clean the caliper. Take off the hardware. You need to clean the rust in between here and where the brake pad ears are going to seat in. So you want to clean all of this rust here. First thing I like to do is to just quickly use a wire brush to get any of the surface rust off first. And then we are going to use the sanding disc. I'm using a 3M Scotch-Brite 3-inch brown coarse sanding disc. I probably have to switch over because it's worn out. But we're gonna start cleaning first. In some cases, if the caliper pins, the slider pins are seized up, sometimes I clean the bore inside with a wire brush of some sort. So you can do that if you want, but you don't have to. But I think we are just going to leave that alone because it looks okay. So we are going to leave it. You can clean it if you want. You can clean it on the outside, and you can use like a bore brush to get in there. I'll probably show you anyways, just in case. And then we are going to install the boot afterwards. So just continue cleaning on the surfaces, but you don't really need to get it down to the shiny bare metal, just until all the rust is gone, and then you should be fine. So now it's all cleaned up. Majority of the rust is all gone. You don't need to over clean it, because if you over clean it, it could cause problems and issues. I've heard of some situations, if you clean too much, it will cause like a clunking noise. So you don't want to over clean this. So now if you want, you can use a manual brush, bore brush, to get inside here, or you can attach it to a drill. This comes off. You can attach it to a drill and just clean the inside of the bore and wash it out with some brake cleaner. And then later you can you can put some of the caliper lubricant inside here if it's too badly rusted. So now I'm using the Permatex silicone ceramic brake lube, the orange stuff. I usually use this for the contact points, and the green stuff, silicone stuff, I use it on the slider pins. It's just a preference that I typically use. So I don't think it's going to matter, but on whatever is approved to use on brake hardware and slider pins. I may have put a little bit too much, but we are going to wipe off the excess. We are going to install the hardware now. So on this particular vehicle, on the bracket, on this model, the curly part has to stay on the outside. It's just the way the design is, because if you put this on the inside, it may interfere with the brake rotor in between. So this is the way I install the clips. And if you're not sure, you can always have a look at the other side to check for to use and check as a reference, just to make sure. Because there are sometimes the clips can be tricky, so you need to note the orientation before you remove them. And so also make sure that it's the same for the other end as well. So I just have the curly part and where it clips into on the outside of this bracket. So now we are going to put some more of the lubricant on the clips. We want to install this boot back the way it was. So I believe it's going to go inside like this. You may need to put some lube on the boot so it'll go in easier. Sometimes it's best to replace these boots on probably every other brake job, so that just in case they don't get torn up, because they wear out over time. And so it's best to replace the boots every now and then. So once it's in, just make sure it's in properly. You may need to lubricate the outside before you insert this, just to make it easier. It's not 100% in yet. So it's starting to rain now. I was able to put the boot in. It's very tricky. It's always best to use a new boot. So now we are just going to clean the slider pins. Use the wire wheel or something to clean everything off, and then we are going to lubricate it. This piece is all in one piece. I've seen some people put silver grade anti-seize or the copper anti-seize, and then the lube here. That's not good because it's going to mix with this. So just make sure you put Caliper lube only. So now we're just going to put some anti-seize on the hub and install the new rotor. Now these particular rotors are coated rotors, so you may not need to have to spray brake cleaner on them, but on some of the coated rotors they say to not spray them, to not spray any brake cleaner, but you can still spray a little bit on a shop rag and just wipe it down if you don't want to spray directly on the rotor. Now, usually I like to clean the rotors with brake cleaner regardless, because the manufacturers of the rotors, they have they apply an anti-rust coating on it, so it contains residual oils. These residual oils are supposed to protect the rotor from rusting during packaging and handling and shipment. And so it's imperative that you spray some brake cleaner onto the brake rotor to get rid of the rust, the anti-rust coating, because the brake rotors contain residual oils, and those residual oils can contaminate the friction material on the brake pads. I want to install the brake rotor now. I like to use an axle nut just to take up the space to make installation easier, to hold the rotor down in place. So now we are going to install the brake caliper bracket. We'll post the torque specs on the screen if you guys want to torque the caliper bracket. It's starting to rain a lot more now, so I need to hurry up to get this done. I still have to do the other side. I'm just going to verify that the bolts are tight. So now we're just going to lubricate the contact points, the ears of the brake pads, and we're just going to seat in. And install the pads. Make sure that when you install the brake pad, it should be loose like this, so that it moves freely. Install the inboard pad now. And we are going to lubricate the slider pins. This is an all one unit slider pin and bolt at the same time. So I'm going to use the green stuff now to lubricate the slider pin. But these are supposed to be installed last after you have the caliper closed up. But I'm lubricating it at the moment, and then I will take them out. I already I forgot to mention that I already cleaned the mounting bolts for the caliper bracket off camera, and added some anti-seize there. We're gonna take this out now. I just wanted to lubricate the inside first before we reinstall the caliper. So now you can reinstall the caliper. The large one goes on top, and the small one, it goes at the bottom. I'll post the torque specs for you guys to see if you want to torque it. Now I'm just going to verify that it's tight. So sometimes I like to use a manual ratchet just to verify that everything is good. And then that's it. So after I'm done, I just like to double check my work. Usually I like to push the caliper back and forth. Make sure the slider pins are moving freely. And the last thing I like to check is to push back on the boots slightly, just to check if there's any excess grease inside. So it will relieve any excess grease that may be inside there, because sometimes if there's too much grease, it's possible that it will cause something called an airlock inside here. And what that does is if there's too much grease, and if you see that the boot is swollen or bulging, it would mean there's a lot of grease in there. So you need to use a thin screwdriver to push back on the boot on both ends, the top and bottom, just to make sure there isn't too much grease in there, because sometimes there could be excess grease and that can cause problems. That can cause something called an airlock. So what that does is it will cause the vehicle to pull onto one side depending on which side has the airlock. So if you go for a road test under moderate braking conditions, it will pull to the opposite side onto which side has the airlock on. So if it's on the right side, I'm doing the passenger side. So if it's on the right side, it's going to pull to the left. If it's on the left side, it's going to pull to the right. It's going to be opposite. Because I learned the hard way throughout my years. So I found out in some years back about this problem as to why I was always having this issue. And so I found out that I just needed to squeeze and to push back on the boots just to make sure there's no excess grease inside, to get the excess grease out, and then that's it. And when you install a caliper, you just want to make sure that the the flex hose, the brake hose, is running parallel to the caliper. You want to make sure it's not twisted, because if it's twisted and you install the caliper and then you go for a drive, it's possible to have a brake failure. So you want to make sure that the flex hose is running parallel all across. So what's left, I just like to push back, clean the rotor again to get rid of the excess grease with some brake cleaner, the front and back. Remove this axle nut and the lug nut and clean everything up, and just verify everything is moving freely, and you should be all good to go. Just don't forget to pump the brake pedal after you are finished the brake job before you take off. Remove this. Just clean behind the rotor and stuff, and make sure there's no excess grease from the lubricant, and then you should be all good to go. One last thing I forgot to mention is to make sure that you are double checking the backing plate. Make sure it's not going to rub onto the back of the rotor. So make sure that the backing plate is pushed back if you need to push it back so it does not rub against the back of the rotor. So after you're all done with the brakes on both sides, just make sure to torque the wheels. I believe the torque spec is 100 foot-pounds, and double check the brake fluid level, and also don't forget to pump up the brakes, to pump the brake pedal several times. So make sure to pump the brake pedal until you have a firm brake pedal. So that's going to conclude this video for replacing the front brakes, rotors, and pads on this 2011 Ford Edge. That's it for today. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please don't forget to give it a like, and please consider subscribing to my channel if you're not already a subscriber, and please don't forget to hit that bell notification if you haven't done so. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good day and take care.